Okay, get ready for this one. What if I told you humanity is teetering on the edge of a massive evolutionary leap?
And not just any old evolution either.
Right, not just a little tweak. We're talking a total paradigm shift. How we see ourselves, how we see the world.
Pretty wild, right?
You bet. So that's what we're diving into today, this idea of a giant evolutionary leap, and we're basing it on the work of shaman Jon Rasmussen.
Right, and what makes Rasmussen stand out, I think, is that he brings together ancient shamanic wisdom and modern science.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
He runs a website, The Soul Algorithm, where he shares teachings from the Cuero shaman lineage from Peru.
All right, so shamans and algorithms. This is already super intriguing. But when Rasmussen says evolutionary leap, what's he actually talking about?
So his argument is that evolution, it isn't this slow, gradual thing,
Right.
like we tend to think of it.
Yeah.
He says throughout history, these big leaps, they've actually been happening faster and faster.
Oh, okay.
I mean, think about it. We went from basic tools to, like, landing on the moon.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a pretty short amount of time, relatively speaking.
For sure.
So Rasmussen suggests that this is, what do you call it, exponential, meaning the next leap.
Yeah.
It could be just around the corner, potentially even happening in our lifetime.
Okay, now that's just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So let's back up a sec, though, for those of us who, maybe aren't totally familiar with, like, shamanism. What exactly is it?
Sure.
And how does it connect to this whole idea of, super fast evolution?
Yeah, good question. Okay, so shamanism at its simplest is an ancient practice of connecting with the spiritual dimension of reality.
Okay.
Now, different cultures all over the world, they've got their own forms of shamanism,
Right.
but they often share some common threads, like working with altered states of consciousness, communicating with spirits, using rituals for healing and guidance.
I see.
Things like that.
So how does Rasmussen tie that into evolution?
He uses this idea of causay.
Causay, okay.
Basically, it's like the blueprint of reality, the unseen forces that shape our world.
Okay.
You see, Rasmussen talks a lot about the known universe, like the 5% we can see and understand,
Right.
versus what he calls the dark universe, which is the other 95%.
Oh, wow.
The stuff that's still a mystery to science.
I see.
And he believes that shamans can actually tap into that 95%, into the causay, to get insights that are beyond our normal perception.
Hold on, so he's saying there's this whole other dimension out there, this causay, that's kind of pulling the strings.
Right.
And shamans can access it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the Matrix, but instead of plugging into a computer, they're plugging into some kind of universal energy field.
Yeah, that's a pretty good analogy, actually.
Okay.
And here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
He thinks this evolutionary leap we're talking about, it's actually tied to our ability to access and understand this causay.
Oh, interesting.
He says as we evolve, we're becoming more aware of this hidden dimension and how we're connected to it.
So it's not just like, physical changes or new technologies.
Oh, no.
It's about, like, a shift in consciousness itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He sees this evolutionary leap as, like, waking up to a bigger reality.
I see.
A reality that's always been there, but we're only just starting to get it.
Okay, now I'm starting to see how all of this connects.
Yeah.
This accelerating evolution, a hidden dimension, shamans who can tap into it.
Yeah.
But what does this mean for us regular folk?
Right.
Like, how do we fit into this grand scheme of things?
Well, that's where Rasmussen's ideas about the soul come in.
Okay, let's talk about that. What does he mean by soul? Is he talking about the, traditional religious idea?
Not exactly.
Yeah.
When he says soul, he's talking about the 95% of you.
Oh, wow.
Not just your body, not even your personality, but the vast interconnected energy that makes up your true essence.
So it's like the soul is synonymous with that causay we were talking about.
Yeah, in a way.
The blueprint of you.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so, according to Rasmussen, this evolutionary leap is all about us recognizing and embracing our true nature as souls, as beings that are fundamentally connected to this bigger reality.
That's a pretty profound idea.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest, I'm still kind of wrapping my head around all this. I mean, if we're talking about a massive evolutionary leap, wouldn't there be some serious challenges?
Of course.
Like growing pains, on a societal level.
You're absolutely right. Rasmussen totally acknowledges that this transition won't be easy.
Okay.
He talks about the possibility of upheaval, discomfort, even fear.
Yeah.
as we let go of old ways of thinking and step into this new way of being.
Right. It makes sense. Anytime there's big change, there's going to be some pushback. It's like, I don't know, trying to squeeze into a new pair of shoes.
Yeah.
They're still a little too tight. They'll stretch out eventually, but in the meantime.
Yeah, it can be uncomfortable.
Exactly.
And that discomfort, it can show up in all sorts of ways, both individually and collectively.
So what are some of the evolutionary growing pains that Rasmussen talks about? How might we see them playing out in our lives?
Well, for one, he mentions this feeling of not belonging, like you don't quite fit in with the old ways of doing things anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And this can be really strong for like younger generations.
Yeah.
They're often more tuned in to these shifting energies and they're less invested in outdated systems. You might also see like a clash between generations, as those folks clinging to outdated beliefs and structures kind of resist the changes that younger people are embracing.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Think about the debates around climate change, social justice. They're often presented as generational divides, but maybe they're also reflections of this bigger evolutionary shift, like Rasmussen's talking about.
That's a really interesting way to look at it. So it's not just personal discomfort, but these like big societal tensions that seem to be popping up everywhere.
Right. And these tensions, they can be amplified by like the sheer speed of change we're seeing. Technology's evolving at an insane pace. Globalization is connecting us in new ways. Even the basic fabric of our social structures feels like it's shifting beneath our feet. It's a lot to deal with.
Yeah, no kidding. It's natural to feel some growing pains along the way.
Definitely.
So if we're all going through this crazy transformation, what's the best way to handle it? Does Rasmussen offer any, guidance?
He does. He really emphasizes embracing the unknown, letting go of the old baggage that's weighing us down.
Okay, I like that, the baggage analogy.
Yeah.
What kind of baggage are we talking about specifically?
Sure. He talks about limiting beliefs, those things that hold us back, outdated social norms that don't serve us anymore, even like unhealthy attachments to material things or specific outcomes. Basically, anything that's preventing us from fully embracing our true nature as souls, as part of this interconnected web of energy. He sees that as baggage we need to release.
So it's about shedding the things that aren't in line with who we are becoming, both individually and as a society.
Exactly. And this shedding process, it can be tough, even painful sometimes.
Right.
But Rasmussen reminds us that it's also incredibly liberating.
Oh, okay.
As we let go of the old, we make space for the new to emerge.
Okay, so we're letting go of baggage, embracing the unknown. But what about actually shaping this new paradigm? Do we just kind of sit back and let evolution happen to us, or do we have a role to play?
Rasmussen is all about co-creation. He believes we're not just passengers on this evolutionary journey. We're active participants. We have the power to shape the future.
Oh, interesting.
He even talks about dreaming the new paradigm into being through our collective intentions and actions.
So it's like we're all artists, and the world is our canvas.
I like that.
We have the power to create something beautiful and meaningful, but we got to be mindful of the choices we're making.
Exactly. And that's where Rasmussen's work gets really inspiring. He suggests that by connecting with our souls, by tapping into that 95% reality, we gain access to this wellspring of wisdom and creativity.
Oh, wow.
And that can guide us in this co-creation process.
So it's not just about getting rid of the old, but actively imagining and creating something new, something better.
Yeah, absolutely. He talks about aligning our individual intentions with this larger evolutionary current.
Yep, okay.
Working together to create a future that's more just, sustainable, and aligned with our true nature as souls.
All right, so we're shedding baggage, embracing the unknown, and co-creating the future. That's the plan. But this all sounds a bit abstract, How do we actually do this in our daily lives? Are there, practical steps we can take to get on board with this evolutionary leap?
Yeah, well, Rasmussen really emphasizes the importance of seeking guidance from experienced shamans, people who can help us navigate this transition. He sees shamans as bridges between the known and unknown worlds. They can offer insights and practices to support our individual and collective evolution.
So he's suggesting a return to these ancient traditions as a way to navigate the complexities of modern life.
In a sense, yeah, but he's also stressing the importance of blending those practices with modern knowledge and understanding.
Okay.
It's not about blindly following tradition, it's about finding what resonates with you personally
Right.
and adapting it to our modern world.
That makes sense. Honoring the wisdom of the past while also being open to new ways of thinking and being.
Exactly. And this process of integrating the old and the new, it's an ongoing thing. It's not a one-time event, but a continuous journey of exploration and discovery.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential challenges and opportunities of this evolutionary leap. But what about the end result? What does Rasmussen envision for humanity if we successfully make it through this transition?
Well, he believes we're moving toward a state of greater awareness, interconnectedness, and harmony.
Hmm.
He sees a world where we're living more in alignment with our souls, with each other, and with the planet. A world where we tap into our full potential as co-creators
Wow,
and manifest a future that's truly beautiful and sustainable.
that's a powerful vision. But I got to ask, does it feel, I don't know, a bit utopian? Is it really possible to achieve such a profound transformation?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
Rasmussen acknowledges there are no guarantees, the future is always uncertain, and there are definitely things that could throw us off course.
Right.
But he also believes we have a choice. We can either cling to the old ways and get stuck in fear and division, or we can embrace this evolutionary leap
Hmm.
with courage and hope.
So it's not about predicting the future, but actively creating it.
Exactly. It's about realizing we have agency, that our choices matter,
Yeah.
and that we can make a real difference.
I love that. Reclaiming our power as individuals and as a collective to create the future we want to see. But for the folks who are still on the fence, what evidence does Rasmussen offer to back up these claims about this evolutionary leap? Are there any real-world trends, things happening right now, that suggest this transformation is actually taking place?
That's a great question, and Rasmussen tackles it head on. He points to several trends that he sees as proof of this emerging paradigm shift. Like, for example, he talks about the rise of consciousness-raising practices,
Okay.
like meditation and mindfulness, which are becoming more and more mainstream.
Yeah, definitely.
He also highlights the growing interest in alternative healing and spiritual traditions, suggesting that people are searching for ways to connect with something beyond the material world.
So he's seeing a shift away from like purely materialistic values
Mm.
toward a more holistic spiritual worldview.
Exactly. And he sees this shift reflected in everything, from the food we eat to how we design our cities. People are craving authenticity, connection, meaning they want to live more sustainably, build community, and tap into their creative potential.
It's like we're witnessing a collective awakening.
Yeah, it really is. And it's being fueled by so many things. Technology that's connecting us in ways we never imagined, scientific discoveries that are challenging our understanding of reality,
Yeah.
and social movements demanding more justice and equality.
It's like all these different threads are coming together, creating this massive force for change.
Exactly. And this force for change, it's palpable. You can feel it in the air, in the conversations people are having, even in the art that's being created. Something is definitely shifting.
For sure. So if we're in the middle of this evolutionary leap, like Rasmussen says, what does that mean for how we understand life and death
Yeah,
and our purpose?
that's a big question.
I know.
And it goes right to the heart of Rasmussen's teachings. Remember, he defines the soul as that 95% of you. The part that goes beyond this one lifetime, this one body. If we really embrace that concept, it changes everything about how we see ourselves and why we're here.
So he's not saying the soul is like this ethereal thing floating around somewhere.
No, no.
But it's like the core of our being.
Right. The energy that makes us us and connects us to everything else.
Okay.
And that energy, that soul, it's not bound by time and space. It exists beyond the physical world. And it keeps evolving and growing even after our bodies die.
Okay, so if our souls are eternal, then what's our purpose in this life? What are we even doing here?
Rasmussen suggests that our purpose is to learn, to grow, to evolve as souls. He sees each lifetime as a chance to experience something different, to develop new skills and qualities, and to contribute to the evolution of consciousness itself, like as a whole.
So it's not about reaching some specific goal or destination.
No.
It's about the journey, about becoming who we truly are.
Exactly. And that journey, it's unique for everyone. There's no one right path or purpose. We all have our own lessons to learn, our own gifts to share, and our own contributions to make.
I mean, that's pretty liberating, but also kind of daunting, you know? It means we have so much freedom to create our own paths.
Yeah.
But it also means we're responsible for making the most of this opportunity.
That's right. And this is where Rasmussen's emphasis on co-creation comes back in. He believes we're not alone in this. We have each other, the wisdom of those who came before us, and we have access to the vast intelligence of the universe through our connection to our souls.
So it's about, like, tapping into that collective wisdom, supporting each other, and working together to build a world that reflects our highest potential.
Absolutely. And that's something worth fighting for, even if the road is bumpy and we don't know exactly what the outcome will be.
Okay, so we've gone deep into Rasmussen's ideas about exponential evolution, this 95% reality, the soul's journey, and the call to, embrace the unknown and co-create this new paradigm. It's been fascinating, but I bet some listeners are still wondering how all of this applies to their everyday lives. What can they do to align themselves with this evolutionary leap and make a positive impact on the world?
That's a great question. And it's something Rasmussen addresses head on. He offers some really practical advice for how to navigate this transition and embody the qualities of this emerging paradigm. For instance, he encourages people to cultivate mindfulness and presence in their daily lives.
So, like being more aware of our thoughts, feelings, and actions, and how they impact ourselves and everyone around us.
Exactly. He sees mindfulness as like a key to unlocking our potential and connecting with our true nature as souls. It helps us step out of autopilot and start making choices that are aligned with our values and what we want to achieve.
Makes sense. When we're more present and aware, we're less likely to get caught up in fear, knee-jerk reactions, or old patterns.
Precisely. And from that place of presence, we can start cultivating other qualities that are crucial for navigating this evolutionary leap. Things like compassion, creativity, and courage.
Okay, so mindfulness is the foundation.
Yeah.
And then from there, we can build on other qualities like compassion, creativity, and courage. What else does Rasmussen suggest?
He talks a lot about the importance of connection with ourselves and with others. He encourages people to spend time in nature, nurture their relationships, and find ways to give back to their communities.
So recognizing that we're not isolated individuals, but part of this larger web of life.
Exactly. And by strengthening our connections, we create a more supportive and resilient foundation for ourselves and for the world.
Okay, mindfulness, connection, compassion, creativity, courage. Those are all great qualities that can help us navigate this evolutionary leap and build a better future.
Yeah.
But I gotta be honest, it sounds like a lot. Where do we even begin?
Well, it's important to remember that this is a journey, not a race. We don't have to try and do everything at once or become some perfect beings. The key is to start where you are, take small steps that feel doable and inspiring.
So finding what resonates with us personally and taking action in a way that feels authentic and sustainable.
Precisely. It could be something as simple as starting a daily meditation practice, spending more time outdoors, or just reaching out to a friend. The important thing is to keep moving forward one step at a time.
That's encouraging. It means anyone can be a part of this evolutionary leap, no matter their background or what they're going through.
Absolutely. This is a collective awakening, and everyone has a role to play. We each have unique gifts and talents that can help create a better world.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, explored Rasmussen's ideas pretty deeply, but I'm sure some listeners are still wondering, how can they learn more about his work? Connect with others who are exploring these same concepts? Does he have any books, workshops, or online communities?
He does. His website, The Soul Algorithm, has articles, videos, information about his workshops and retreats. He's also got a really active online community where people can connect and share their experiences.
Amazing. We'll be sure to include links to all of that in the show notes. And for listeners who are new to shamanism or just spirituality in general, are there any other resources you recommend for those who want to dive in a little deeper?
Absolutely. There are so many fantastic books, podcasts, and online resources out there. A few of my favorites are.
Wow, this has been an incredible deep dive. We've explored some pretty complex concepts, and I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah, there's always more to learn, and that's what makes this journey so exciting.
Okay, so before we wrap up, I have to ask the big question. If we are in the midst of this evolutionary leap, as Rasmussen suggests, what real, tangible signs might we look for in our own lives, in our communities, or just out in the world? What would actually show us that this shift is happening?
Right, that's the key, isn't it? Moving from the abstract to the observable. It's like we've been handed this treasure map, but we have to figure out the clues ourselves.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
So what are some of those clues we should be looking for?
Well, let's start with technology. Rasmussen believes that technology, when used consciously, can actually help us evolve faster. Think about how the internet has connected people all over the world,
Yeah.
fostering collaboration and the sharing of ideas. That's a powerful tool for collective
It's
growth.
like we're creating this global nervous system,
Exactly.
allowing information and energy to flow more freely than ever before.
But technology is just one piece of the puzzle. We could also look for signs in how we relate to the environment. As our awareness of interconnectedness grows, are we seeing a shift towards more sustainable practices, a deeper respect for nature, and a greater sense of responsibility for the planet?
That's a good point. It does seem like there's a growing movement towards conscious consumerism, renewable energy, regenerative agriculture. People are starting to understand that our well-being is completely tied to the health of the planet.
And what about the arts? Are we seeing new forms of creative expression that reflect this expanded worldview? Art has always been a way for humans to express their spirit, so it can give us valuable clues about how consciousness is evolving.
That's fascinating. I'm thinking about the rise of visionary art, music that uses nature sounds, performances that blur the lines between the artist and the audience. It's like art is becoming more immersive, more participatory, and more connected to something bigger than ourselves.
Exactly. And we can't forget about the social sphere. Are we seeing a shift toward more empathy, compassion, and cooperation? Are social structures becoming more equitable and inclusive? Those are all potential signs of an evolutionary lead happening right in front of us.
Like we're moving from this paradigm of competition and scarcity to one of collaboration and abundance.
Exactly. And this shift isn't just about external structures, it's about internal transformation too. Are we becoming more self aware, more compassionate toward ourselves and others, more willing to embrace vulnerability and authenticity? These inner shifts are just as important as the outer ones.
I'm glad you brought up self-awareness. It feels like practices like mindfulness and meditation, which used to be pretty fringe, are becoming more mainstream. People are realizing that our inner world is just as important as the world outside of us.
Absolutely. And as we cultivate more self awareness, we naturally become more attuned to how interconnected everything really is. We begin to see ourselves as part of something larger, something more meaningful than just our individual
It's
egos.
like we're waking up to this new reality,
Yeah.
one that's always been there, but we're only now beginning to see it.
Exactly. And this awakening is both exciting and challenging. It's about letting go of old beliefs and who we thought we were, stepping into the unknown, and embracing the mystery and wonder of it all.
So if we really are in the middle of this evolutionary leap, what does that mean for the future of humanity? What kind of world are we creating?
That's the big question, and only time will give us the answer. But based on what Rasmussen says and the signs we're seeing all around us, I think there's reason to be hopeful. We have the potential to create a world that's more just, sustainable, and aligned with who we really are as interconnected beings.
That's definitely a vision worth working towards, even if a path is unclear and the challenges seem huge.
For sure. And the most important thing is to stay engaged, to keep asking questions, and to never stop being curious. The future isn't something that just happens to us, it's something we build together.
I love that. We're not just watching from the sidelines, we're active participants in this grand evolutionary adventure. And by embracing the unknown, cultivating our inner strengths, and working together, we can shape a future that reflects our highest hopes and dreams.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, I encourage you to pay attention to the signs around you. Notice the changes in how people think, the trends that are emerging, and the surprising breakthroughs that point towards a new way of living.
And don't forget, you're not alone on this journey. There are countless others who are waking up, seeking connection, and working to create a better world. Reach out, share your experiences, and let's explore this uncharted territory together.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep evolving, and keep dreaming that new paradigm into being.
Who knows? Maybe we'll discover that the future is even more incredible than we could have ever imagined.